Morning.
Good morning.
Safers, are you calm, cool, and connected this morning?
Yes. Oh, I like it. And excited.
Yeah, this would have been our, Don and I were commenting, this would have been our big unveil at our FME user conference.
Yeah. Yeah, in June, so it would have been, what, less than a month ago? Yeah, just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, you guys missed a nice sunny Vancouver, because as you know, everybody who comes to Vancouver, every time you've been enjoying the sun. So we're sorry that you've missed all of that. Yeah, it's been raining the whole time.
Yeah, I think people are calling it January this year.
Yes, January. I love it.
A little bit of July-uary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, we're pretty excited by some of the things we have to show today. 2020.1 is a pretty significant .1 release compared to previous .1 releases for sure. So
yes. Yeah. No, there's some pretty.
You can see we got a number of people online here. So we got all the heavy hitters, and then we have a bunch of other heavy hitters in the back. Yeah, who are just waiting for your questions. So yeah.
Well,
good.
it's 8 o'clock. Should we get the show rolling?
Yeah, let's get this show on the road.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Unleashing webinar of FME 2020.1. Probably I shouldn't have used the word unleashing. That implies a little more dramatic change. This is more of a calm and cool kind of thing today. An evolutionary set of changes, a couple of kind of major big features, and lots of improvements that we aren't even going to be able to talk about today, but nonetheless, lots of great stuff in store. So, my name is Dale Lutz. I'm one of the co-founders of Safe Software.
Yeah, I'm Don Murray. I'm the other founder of Safe Software.
We'll go around. How about go to Rylan?
Sure. Hi. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rylan Masczak, product owner for FME Server.
Christian.
I'm Chris Berger, and I'm an FME desktop technology expert.
And
I'm Dmitry. I'm scenario creation analyst, and I do all kinds of interesting scenarios with new technologies we add to FME all the time.
And you're the closer today, right, Dmitry?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we'll shut off our webcams just to avoid logging the internet too much. So anyway, yeah, please don't be afraid to ask lots of questions. The team is ready to answer. And I know one of the questions is, when is this thing actually going to be on our website? And I think it's basically now or in a few minutes. So you'll be able to try this today for sure. So, Don, as we've said for all of FME 2020, one of our key initiatives at SAFE is to make sure that FME as a platform is ready for the whole enterprise. And there's a number of parts to that, but what do you think, Don, is the most important to you?
I think right out of the gate, one of our big strengths, of course, is the fact that we have unrivaled spatial support. So when it comes to the enterprise, spatial is only becoming more important all the time. And we bring years and years of expertise where we are the vendor that is known for enterprise integration that includes spatial data. And so you're going to see some exciting new additions to as we expand our reach in that area. And of course, the other one that has me super excited is the whole no code. So we really do strive, and you can build everything you're going to see today without, writing a single line of code. And I don't think any other vendor can say that.
Yeah, I would agree. For those that are new to FME, we are a platform for moving data. And as we say here, we started in spatial, and that is really our core kind of differentiator. But actually, all kinds of data move very, very well through FME. Don, you and I have a couple favorite things that we're going to be highlighting as we move through. And so this is kind of foreshadowing a little bit.
That's right. That's right.
On the authoring side, there's this thing we call data-aware transformer dialogues. Probably our marketing group can help us come up with a better name than that, but nonetheless, I'll be showing that in a few minutes. And Don, what is yours?
Yeah, this image here is we've taken FME server apps to the extreme now, and we've added this ability to create your own portal or landing page. Then it's called FME server gallery apps, and basically now you can have FME server as your gateway to anything within your organization or your department. So, and Chris Berger is going going to demo that.
Don, but how many days of coding does it take to make this thing I'm looking at here?
This is probably, you know, the hardest thing is getting the graphics, and so you would have to go find your icons, and so zero coding, and Chris is going to build something like this in under 10 minutes.
Wow, okay, so we'll look forward to that for sure.
Yeah. And I'm going to time them.
Okay, that's the thing we should do, is a countdown clock or something like that, just to keep
That's
making.
right. How quickly can you build your FME server app? Yeah.
Really put the pressure on me then.
We used to have those in game shows in the 70s. It was great. So yeah, so anyway, 2020.1 takes these initiatives of ours and moves them up to the next level. And so you're going to be seeing us reveal specifically some features that relate to increasing your productivity when it comes to enterprise integration. And behind the scenes, there's just dozens and hundreds actually of small improvements and enhancements across the board.
Yeah, and performance as well, Dale. Like there's some significant performance improvements in 2020.1 and versus 2020.0, and 2020.0 was already the fastest FME ever. So
yeah, it's on many fronts. We've really beefed up our performance measuring at SAFE, and actually the technology. We're always investing in modernizing our code base. While FME's been around for 20 plus, wow, it's like 23 or 4 years. We've re-architected the innards many times during that time, and so actually sometimes I'm really quite shocked how fast. I was doing that webinar with I can't remember who's Mark Ireland, and it was on shapefiles, and we had a shapefile we wanted to show how fast we could read with the most recent FME reader, 600,000 rows. And the funny thing was that even if I used the old reader, because of all the architectural improvements, it actually read it extremely fast anyway. So I didn't even show the demo because it wasn't that much better after all. But
yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, and I guess this slide really shows our strength in it doesn't matter what kind of data you're working with, what kind of systems you're connecting. The FME platform really has unrivaled data support. And again, we're continuing to expand all of these, make them better, faster, and be able to connect to more systems more easily. So yeah. So what do you think's my favorite there, Dale?
Well, I think you're just coming off of the glow. Actually, did you just finish that webinar earlier this morning, Don? The XML-a-thon marathon?
Yeah, yeah. It went. It was the longest webinar ever. We went. Yeah, we could have gone all day, but we went. We finished in under, you know, probably over about an hour and 45 minutes, I'm going to say. And then, but the rest of the day we just kept talking about it. So yeah, it feels like it just ended. And so yeah, I had amazing dreams last night. Yeah.
Don's personal brand is about how much he loves XML, and so I think by now that recording must be available, right, Stephanie? That someone, if they want to go right afterwards and listen for the rest of the day to XML, they could.
Definitely, I'm going to try that out right now.
Yeah, but we might lose some people right away that want to go look at the XML webinar. But actually, Don, how many for serious? How many people stuck out the XML webinar?
It was close to 500, yeah, and I'm gonna say 1,500 registered. Steph can correct me.
Yeah, there were a lot of people quite interested in XML, so and people begging us to do one every year.
Yeah, and we're happy to do it. We do one every quarter if people wanted.
Just can't get enough.
That's
okay,
right.
So anyway,
yeah.
That's on the Connect, and actually, I'm just looking at this and thinking, boy, we should do a webinar on every one of these little bubbles, because there's a lot of GIS and CAD that was done. If you're interested in GIS and CAD, there was a webinar that we just did on that in our archive. We haven't done one on just CSV and Excel, but we probably should. And
we probably could.
Yeah, that one's scheduled for September, so definitely stay tuned for that.
Yeah, we've done an indoor mapping one for sure. Yeah.
And anyway, there's just lots we could do. You know, point clouds, we don't actually talk today about point clouds at all, but FME has an extremely solid point cloud infrastructure and lots of capabilities there too. Yeah. So anyway, on the Connect side of things, the key value we bring to the table is that you have one platform that can solve all these integration challenges without ever leaving it. And so that's really the key thing. And we always say that we're all about connect, transform, and automate. And so we're going to hit all those this morning as we look at things. And actually, Don, a lot of folks don't know our icons, but that's the Zipster. Did you say that the Zipster played a role in the webinar yesterday too?
He did. He revealed his thoughts on XML, and you know, I think he complains about his iPhone there, but we won't tell him that it's, you know, one of the originals. And yeah, but somebody asked. 2013 was when he came on board. I can't believe it.
And we gave him a 6-year-old iPhone then, and he's had it ever since.
That's right.
Yeah. So on the many fronts that we push on with respect to connection, one of the key ones that we've noticed recently getting a lot of attention and buzz, and we work with Gartner as well to kind of help us keep track of where the industry is going, and that's in the area of cloud databases. And so there are 3 new ones that are just added. Of course, Amazon Redshift Spatial. We've actually supported Redshift without Spatial before. Snowflake and Oracle Autonomous. Don, I know that you've had a lot to do with the Snowflake side of things. What would you want to add?
And that's a cloud-only database. So with the Snowflake one they've done is it runs natively on AWS, Google, or Azure. And the spatials, they've recently added spatial support, and it's in the public beta now. So it's part of that public beta. So if anybody out there uses Snowflake, you can get onto their spatial program and then give it a run. And we're seeing this now with cloud databases in general, and it really drives home the point that spatial data is becoming more and more important to the enterprise. And so now if you're an organization and you're looking at enterprise integration, you can't ignore spatial. And because if you do, you're going to find that whatever technology you choose, you're going to have to replace it for a tool that does embrace spatial. And when it comes to enterprise integration with spatial, you really have one choice, unless you want to, write code yourself. So we're, and then this is what we do, and we're pretty excited about it. Yeah.
And not on this list is, of course, Google BigQuery GIS, which came, I think, in the last release. And so
2020.0, yeah. So
lots and lots of choices when it comes to cloud databases. I mean, I know Elastic has spatial and MongoDB has spatial, all these things do. And we've been working hard to stay on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So
just a few highlights on other kinds of formats. Google Sheets, and we'll talk about it in a minute. Google Sheets that we have in FME 2020 and older uses a set of APIs that are going to quit working in September. So there's a new package, which is the version 4 Google Sheets, and so people out there will have to upgrade to that. And we'll look at that. Revit, we took the technology preview off of our Revit this time around, and we're pretty excited about all the things that can do. And so very, very powerful reading of BIM there. Don, in the 12D.
Yeah, Revit's really exciting. Yeah, and 12D is now we have the reader and writer. We did some updates on the writer, and we added this this ability to convert from 12D ASCII to XML in the background. So now you can, if you have a directory of native 12D ASCII files, you can just point it at it, and it'll do the right thing behind the covers so that you can read that data. So yeah.
And there's a couple of smaller improvements there that will affect if CAD people, if your CAD files have coordinate systems, we'll read them. But I want to just highlight the bottom 2 things, which are formats we ourselves don't actually ship, but our partners or friends do. And so if you're into navigation, there's a new format there called S101. And the reader is free from our friends over at 7 Seas, who are basically the world experts in this kind of stuff. And so help yourselves there. And actually, breaking news was that GE Small World has a 64-bit version of their reader and writer, which is going to help others more and more move off of the FME and 32-bit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and we don't just connect to formats in quotes, although some of those in that previous slide aren't really formats, they're more systems. A couple of things to highlight here. Tableau, we have a writer for this thing called Hyper, which is their new format. So so we got that. ArcGIS Online, there's a connector for that. And SharePoint is coming very, very soon. So there'll be a SharePoint connector for, not so much for on-prem SharePoints, but for the ones that are hosted online.
Yeah, yeah. So lots of excitement. And of course, if anybody uses those, we're always happy to hear about ways they can be made better. So give us feedback on anything in FME you try. It's definitely we have a huge team that's just working to make it better and better. So feedback is key.
It's also worth me pointing out that 2 of the 3 on here are delivered in what we call packages, which means that they actually aren't tied to a release. If you have a little bit older FME of 2020, you can get the ArcGIS Online connector, and when the SharePoint one comes online or comes available, you'll just be able to type SharePoint and boom, hit a button and it'll download and off you go. So that architecture allows us to be more nimble when it comes to these online services, which are coming up and changing very quickly.
Yeah.
Just wanted to highlight that we have a webinar coming on July 22nd. If ArcGIS Online Connector piques your interest, some of the early customers are very excited about it. Please go to safe.com webinars and plan to sign up there. Some of the first feedback we've got is that people love it, but they say, we want this for our portals. We want the same functionality, but instead of ArcGIS Online, we want it for ArcGIS Portal. And of the folks tuned in, if you'd be someone that uses Portal and would find that useful, please chat it in. We just want to get a sense of how much effort we should put onto that. The biggest trick, of course, is just the authentication piece. The APIs are actually the same, but that's something. Okay, well, Don, how often does data start out exactly the same as you'd like it to end up?
Almost never. So, and that's really the key. Like some people think FME is, when they think about FME, the easiest thing to understand is, oh, I can point it at my data and move it directly into my database, but that's not really the point. It's really all about all the amazing things that you can do with the data or multiple data sets as you read them and combine them to derive new data sets. And that's all under the banner of Transform. Yeah, and really that's the heart of the transformation is our authoring environment, which Dale is going to show us. Probably one of the more exciting things I've seen in a while. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. So yeah, we've tried to push on enriching the authoring experience on every front as much as we can. And for that, we've got this thing we're calling data aware transformer dialogues, and I'll show that in a minute. This is really though the first step in this journey, and
yeah,
and more it's yeah, in the words of the old Carpenters song, Don, we've only just begun. And
that's right. Yeah, so now you can I'm super excited because now as you're working with your data in the workbench, you can start to understand your data without having to do a translation. And you know, there've been a lot of words thrown around: data aware, data science, you know, data intelligence, all these words. So, but anyway, this ability to really be inspecting and understanding your data in Workbench, and also Workbench helping you to author, is just so exciting. And this, like Dale said, we've only just begun. Hey, we should play that. We should sing that song, Dale.
Maybe at the end we will.
Okay.
I'll get the lyrics ready.
We'll warn people so they can sign off, because they just won't be able to unhear that.
Yeah, you got to be probably you know, close to our age to what we're even talking about. But anyway, I want any Carpenters fans tuned in. Any Carpenters fans? Let us know. But you know, somebody just last night, I was on the FME community, and somebody was asking the question, hey, if I'm in a tester, how can I see the values that are there? And the FME experts out there were saying, well, really you can't. And they were giving a bunch of complicated workarounds. And the person was fairly harsh, saying, you know, I can't believe that developers haven't done this. And I understand their pain, because it seems like a very natural thing. But this is a big change for us, because for the last 20 some years, when you were authoring, you weren't actually working with the data, you were working with the model of the data, but not the data itself. And with some of the changes we've done with the new data caching that we have, then you really are working with it. So actually, so I stop talking about it and just go for it, Don?
Yeah, let's see it.
Okay, so I don't know if Don knows this, but we got a side business at SAFE, a side hustle. And it's an online Shopify store for Zipster, where he's selling shoes, and his slogan is, for all your walking and rolling. So walking and rolling. So
Yeah.
so anyway, but the Zipster was giving me some requirements last night, saying that he really doesn't like looking at his online catalog in this way, and he's concerned. I think the FME Lizard has been doing some of the data entry, and it's not very good. And so what he'd like to do is use some of these new experimental connectors that we've got. We'll be talking more about these in the weeks ahead, but we've been playing around with the Shopify API to both load data as well as read it. And so we've got this Shopify product reader that's going to let me read the catalog out. And so I'm just going to go ahead and run to this point. So I've got the feature caching mode on, and that's what unlocks all the magic. So when I got feature caching mode on, then everything is remembering what I'm doing to that point. So I'm running to here, and I've got 15 products came through. And I'm going to load this into Google Sheets, but the Zipster said that they were a little bit concerned about some of the flip-flops that are in there. So here are the product types that are in there. And so they wanted only the flip-flops to be loaded. So I'm going to change this, instead of if the product type has a value, to say it's got to be equal to something. And now, man, I forgot. Oh, Don, what was it I was looking for again? Do you remember?
I think it was flip-flops.
Was there space in there, or what was the uppercase, lowercase?
Yeah, I don't remember. So yeah.
Well,
yeah,
fortunately, there's this new pull right here called cached values. There it is. Okay, it was uppercase with a space and plural. So I can pull that, and that was fairly magical. I mean, it probably should have always worked like that, as the customer on the community said last night. But hey, sometimes it takes us a while to find our way there, and we did. So if I do that, now when I just run this transformer, I should have just one thing that that came through, and yes, that was the flip-flops. And now the problem is that the Zipster also wants a description field there, and I'm looking at what our current, and we're still working on this API, and I don't see a description here.
Right.
But there might be. In FME, sometimes there are attributes floating around in the data that aren't known at design time on the canvas. And to get at them,
right.
we use, I know as an XML guy, Don, I know you're an adjacent guy. You use this one a lot. What is it?
Oh, the attribute exposer. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a pain because you got to print it out first. So first you have to log it, and then you have to copy and paste the values. And it's okay if there's one value, but sometimes there's, 10, 20 values, and it's very tedious.
I had one of our expert customers that I visit every year when I used to be able to visit places. And earlier this year, they said to me that that issue was the one time where they felt like FME let them down. But
right.
They had a massive, actually XML thing. And if you have like, let's say 24 fields, it's kind of tiring. But anyway, I'm going to put down an attribute exposer. I can type AE. That's a little shortcut. It grabs, and looks like I've used an exposer before. And let's pop open the parameters here, attributes to expose. And if I just pull this down, oh, no attributes available. I know why, because I haven't got the cache loaded up here on the attribute manager. So let's get that going. Okay, now I got a cache just before here. And so if I get this now, select attribute, or actually I can even just hit this one. There's a body HTML, and I think that has the description. So if I choose that and say okay, and then I'm going to just map the body HTML over to here to the description, and I'm going to just let that rip, and off it goes. Oh, it gives me a little warning, something about the Google Sheets API changing. And actually, if I take a peek, this is what that tells me, that the API is going to go, and what should I do? All right, I should actually deal with that in a minute, but I'll just check the spreadsheet. Okay, come on, Zipster products. And here, okay, there it is. And let's take a look what that description was. It says, oh yeah, I got that. Why don't cows wear flip-flops? They lactose. Did you know that, Don?
Ah, there we go. Yeah.
Okay, so that's all working. Thanks, Sienna, for that wonderful line. And lastly here, if I wanted to upgrade to the next Google Sheets, I would right-click on the Google Sheets writer and say Update Writer. And it comes in and it knows that it's version 4. I have to supply a new connection because they're not compatible between the two. And last night I did
Right.
that. And so I just say, okay, and then boom, now this thing is actually using version 4. If I want to be careful, I need to go in here and check the parameters and fix that. Upsert is actually insert now, so that's one thing I got to fix, and then I would be in business. And so that's the end of my demos of the Zipster shoe store.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. And there's a lot going on there because we had to do the feature caching first, but now this is just the tip of the iceberg. So it's going to be amazing to see now that Workbench is data aware of what it's going to be able to do with it. Yeah, yeah.
We've only just begun. Okay, there we go. So Dawn, are you going to talk to us this morning about the automation side? We've done Connect, we've done Transform, we've got
Yeah.
now to go into Automate.
Yeah, and this is really all about Automate's all about FME Server. For years, FME Server really was what automation meant was you could schedule jobs. We did have a notification framework, but it was very, very low level. And so we did two things that we released in 2020. One was FME Server apps, where we made them really, we just took them to the new level. So now you could build really nice GUIs essentially on top of a workspace, an FME workspace, which you authored in desktop. And we introduced this thing called automations, which is all about connecting apps in real time to do really amazing things. But in FME 2020.1, my choice is this new concept called FME Server Gallery Apps. And what this enables you to do is easily create a landing page or portal or whatever you want to call it. We're calling it Gallery Apps for now, which is for all your web apps. So, and by all your web apps, I don't mean just FME Server apps that we introduced in 2020.0. I mean all server apps. So you can have a page that has, a link to your favorite Google site. Maybe you have another link to weather, and then you might have another link that is to an FME Server app. And so really, it's just fantastic. And you can make beautiful web pages now without any code at all.
Yes. Yeah, fantastic. So,
and I think, yeah. And I think we're going to hand it over to Christian, and he is going to do he's going to demo this. And yeah.
All right, yeah, here we go. So we're just in the server web UI now, and we're just going to hop over to the server app section. Now you're going to notice there's a couple of different changes here. We've now dubbed server apps workspace apps, and we have this new section called gallery apps. So let's go ahead and get started by building our first gallery app. And I know Don said we're going to try and keep this under 10 minutes, but I promise you it'll be much faster than that because it is dead simple to build these things.
I have my timer running.
Yeah, time running, perfect. I got mine too. I'm at 30 seconds already, and we're going to be explaining this as we go too. So
I'm kidding.
It is very similar to the workspace apps. All you'd have to do is give it a name. So let's go ahead and call this gallery demo, just because we're going to be showing this off. Give it a title. This is going to show up on the web page itself at the top, and you'll see this in just a second. And give it a description. So let's say, welcome to the Sales and Marketing Gallery. All right, so we're halfway there. Hope you haven't broken a sweat yet. This is kind of the easiest part. Now we're getting to the hard part. This is where you're going to add the links. And what you'll notice is we have this type option. So you have the two types of links that you can add. The first being a workspace app. This would be just an app that you built on FME Server from a workspace that's been published to FME Server. So let's go ahead and add that. We'll point it to collateral DIY stream, and we'll call this story generator. Now this is for creating customer story packages. All right, so that's for creating customer story packages. And the last bit here is adding an image. So this is kind of what really makes the app tile pop on the web page. If you can get a PNG with a transparent background, it's going to look so much better. So do your best to reach out to your marketing teams and try and get those icons, because they'll just look a lot better than having like white blocky backgrounds. So that's how you add a workspace app. We have effectively created our first gallery app if we will go ahead and click OK in the bottom right. But let's go ahead and add a URL type as well. So our sales and marketing team also uses a sales inbox. So let's get the URL for that. And this is just a Gmail. This is actually just my personal Gmail, but just for demonstration's sake, I will put it, go there. And we'll add a tooltip as well. So when the user hovers their mouse over the icons, it'll show up and give them an idea of what they're going to be opening. So this is for incoming quotes, and we'll give it another image. That one's a discussion. We'll add the link. So this is bare minimum you could do. You don't have to add 2 links. You could add 1. You could add as many as you'd like. If we click OK right now, we'll get something that looks a little bit something like this. And this is a pretty basic looking web page, but we can make it look a whole lot better. So let's hop into the customize section. Again, this is very similar to Workspace apps where you had that customize option. And it is worth noting that all of these customize options are now available in Workspace apps as well. So you still have the option to add a browser icon. So let's do that, add an icon with the Safe Software logo. But now you have the option to add a heading logo as well. So for our logo, we'll go to the header, add the Safe logo. You also have a banner as well. And that's going to be our banner. Down below, we noticed that people would like to have footer information because you can store important information like who to contact should something go wrong, or your company's organizational goals, a motivational quote, other things like that can all live in this area. Whatever you want, it's really up to you. And then we also give you the option for a footer logo as well. So let's add our footer logo, and we will click OK. So timer is currently at 4 minutes, and we've created our first gallery app, and it looks like this now. So we have taken this from a very basic looking app in just a few clicks and uploading a few images to making it look like it is a professionally built custom solution that's a landing page for all of our apps and all of our external web pages like Sales Inbox. So I'll just show you, when you click on these, it'll open up the server app or the URL in a new tab. And this is also just to show that all the customized options are available in Workspace apps as well. So you'll notice that there's the logo with the banner and the footer with the logo down below as well. So we'll close those 2 down. That was just the first option to show you how to build a simple gallery with 2 apps, or 2 links, sorry, but you can also build it with 3 or as many as you'd like. So let's actually hop into this one that has 9 links. And you can see that all of these have the tooltips filled out and they all have different icons. They all point to different resources. I believe the first 3 are server apps. What we also want to show is that these are very responsive on web browsers as well. So when you're on your mobile device, you can access all of these galleries. So let's open this up. This is just running on an iPhone. You can see that the tiles are responsive in either the portrait or landscape orientation. So it works very nicely on both your desktop, laptop, iPad, whatever you want to run it on.
Yeah.
And just hopping into the Workspace app section again, just because we want to make sure you guys are fully aware of this, you do have the customize option down below as well. So you get all the options for browser icon, heading logo, banners, footer text, and logos and banners as well. So those are just a couple of the changes that have gone on with Workspace apps and the addition of gallery apps. And if you'd like to learn more about this, we are going to be having a server apps webinar on, I believe, Dawn, is it August 19th?
It is.
Yes.
August 19th.
It is. Awesome. Yeah. So please feel free to come join us on August 19th, and you'll learn a whole bunch of new tricks and tips, best practices on how to build new gallery apps and kind of what can help you when you're building your server Workspace apps as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I was just going to mention, if anyone wants to type in the chat, if there's anything specific from that server apps webinar that they want to see, we're still in the process of building out the content. So it's a good time to let us know what you want from that webinar. Dawn, I'm going to pass it. Sorry, go ahead.
And Chris, you didn't mention it, but of course the apps have all the security of FME server too. So you could create a an engineering app which only folks with their permission on FME server for that would see them. So we've done that too. So yeah. So anything, and of course you could have a gallery app that everybody in the department has access to, but when they click on a particular link, they wouldn't have access to it because they did not have the permission to, run that FME server app as before. So yeah. So anyway, great job, Christian.
Thank you.
Dawn, I'm going to pass it back to you. We are on slide 23.
Okay, slide 23. Okay, show my screen. Okay, I'm gonna move it over here. Slide 23. Oh, where'd this show my screen go? Oh, there it is, main screen. Yeah, so you can see my screen now, can you?
We can, yeah, just hit present and you're good to go.
Perfect. Yeah, so that is, you can see why that was my pick. Really makes it easy to make beautiful server gallery apps, and just gives a whole other reason for folks to use FME server and exploits the power of our engine. And we're not done yet, like Dale said. So we might get Dale to sing the next verse of that a little later. So the other thing that's really exciting in the automation is on FME server is automations, and this is the ability to connect various applications together. So we got a long way in 2020.0, but we've added some pretty exciting features in 2020.1. So the first one is this whole notion of dynamic workspace execution. So this is a kind of an advanced feature. I'll show you some screenshots, and we're going to go over it in a webinar as well. We have an enterprise integration webinar coming. But the idea is that you can now build automations where the data this dictates what happens in the automation. So and so now you can have really amazing, flexible, and you can build some of these enterprise integration patterns more simply and smaller. To give you an idea, here is the process manager pattern, which you could do in 2020.0. The concept here is that as the data flows through, there's different operations you want to do on the data in a sequential fashion. And you can see here, this played on our SPA theme from FME 2020, which we would have showed had we gone on the road. And you can see there's a variety of things you can get. You can get laser skincare, you can get hair replacement. Don't know anybody who would need that. Manicure, pedicure, detox, massage. And the point of this is that, okay, now I actually want to add a another service. So I'm going to have to do another thing. I'm going to have to create a workspace. I'm going to have to go in and edit my process manager brain workspace. I'm also going to have to edit this automation. And well, when you have 5 or 6, it's okay. Imagine if you offered 100 services or 200 services or 1,000 services. This whole automations thing would become unmanageable to maintain that. Also, every time you make a change, you're gonna have to go in and edit it, and there's a chance you're gonna break it. So what we did with this whole notion of dynamic workspace execution that's data driven is now that whole thing comes down to this. And so now I can simply, if I create a new service, that can be, I just simply create the workspace. The workspace requirement is that it only follows has the same interface as the others. And now I can drop that in. I don't have to change my process manager workspace. I don't have to change my automation. In fact, it can continually be running. And I just have to, publish that one workspace, and at runtime, it just works. So that's a process manager pattern. The other one that's interesting is this whole notion. This is a really popular pattern called splitter. The best example, and the one they use in the Enterprise Integration Patterns website and in the book, is talking about an invoice. It's so basically an invoice is you'll have a big list of items on in one object or one like an invoice, and each line item you want to process differently based on, in this case, we're going to say manufacturer. So you can say, in this one here in 2020, you can say I have Hasbro, I have Samsung, I have Apple, I have Mattel. But imagine that I have, you can see that one box, it's just driving home the point. Imagine I had 1,000 or 10,000 other manufacturers in my store. Then how, it's like a Home Depot or something like that. Like there's just no way this would work, because I would have to have thousands and thousands of these workspaces. Every single time I added a new manufacturer, deleted a manufacturer, I'd have to go in and edit the invoice word as well. So it just becomes unmanageable. So what I can do in 2020.1 with this dynamic workspace is now I can just do this. And so now what I do is, for each manufacturer, I still have a workspace that knows how to talk to the web service based on that manufacturer, but I drop it in, and now when the invoices are processed, they just work. So that's what we're pretty excited about in 2020.1. Also, the big thing about the big difference between the process manager pattern and the splitter pattern is the process manager pattern is each operation is done in sequence. So it's a sequential operation, whereas the splitter pattern, in fact, the invoice, all the things on the invoice could be processed at the same time. So the invoice item guy there, that workspace, he would use the FME server automation writer, and he would just write out one feature or one message per invoice item, and the dynamic workspaces all would fire up at the same time. So that's what we're excited about, and we're going to go into the details of how to do that. And it's just so much simpler in 2020.1 than it ever was before. So yeah. And yeah, so our webinar's in July 29th. I'm doing this one with Jen and I'm Jen Luther Thomas, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to go through a lot of the enterprise integration patterns and talking about enterprise integration. So there we go. Yeah. So on server, we also have we're all constantly looking at server improving its user interface and adding things that users need. So one of the things was now within FME server, you can easily see the data that you published with your workspaces. In the past, when you publish a workspace to FME server, you can specify that you also want data to go along with it. And now you can actually see that data. So if you inadvertently published a large data source when you publish the workspace, now you can see it in the GUI and easily remove it. We've also integrated all the schedules. So now you can see schedules that are both part of the old schedules, as well as those that are within the automation, so the schedule trigger. So now you can see all your schedules together. And of course, we've also worked to improve our proxy support. Security is one of those things that people don't buy. People will not buy a product if it does not support the security needs that they have. So if there's something on FME server you would like to see, please let us know. Every release of FME server, we're adding new security things. And so the big one for .1 was this advanced support for proxy settings. And we're going to pass this over to Rylan now, who is going to give us a demonstration of these two things.
That's right. Thanks, Don. All right, so this I'm going to show here now is FME server 20.1. This is actually one of our FME cloud instances that we all use in the office. We publish our workflows for testing out customer workflows, testing out our own workflows, or some of us have even spent time playing with FME after hours, and we publish our fun stuff up here. So I will show you these 3 new features that Don just highlighted. If you have not seen FME Server 2020, we've reorganized the side menu, a little bit more logical groupings. So for the proxies, you're going to find that under System Configuration and under Network and Email. So we have the proxy configuration menu here. And when I enable this, you can type in your host. And then the new part here is the proxy exceptions. We moved proxies into the web interface back in server 2019.1, but now we have the option to add all these different exceptions that you may need for your workflow. So you can type in basic ones, or maybe you need to have some sort of wildcard there in the front. We also support wildcards on both sides. And we have the regular authentication that you'd expect, basic, digest, and NTLM. So one of the great features we have to support our enterprise users. The other one I'd like to show you is showing the schedules that are in automations. So on this particular FME server instance, if I go to my automations page, I see that we have created 114 different automations. Now, of course, not all of these are running, but if I were to ask myself, which ones have schedules? Okay, I might be able to come in here, preview as a grid. All right, I can count 1 schedule, 2 schedule, but this isn't going to be very scalable, right? So if I go to the schedules page here, I see all of my regular schedules, but there's a new button here, Show Automations. And if I just give that a click, now I can see all the additional schedules that I've created that are sitting in enabled automations, and you're able to see the start time and the recurrence. So just giving a way for the administrator and author to just see a little bit more. The last one I'd like to show you is in workspaces. So for quite a while now, we've been telling users you can publish your data up with your workspace. Now, when you do this through the publishing wizard in FME Workbench, the data actually sits in the workspace repository. That means only the workspaces there have access to that data. Of course, the best practice is to publish to a better location like the FME server resources, the data folder, for example, so that you can manage the data independently, you can reference it from multiple workspaces and that sort of thing. But for a long time, we've only been able to interrogate using the server REST API. Where is the data? So I did some analysis on this FME server instance, and I found that there are 6 gigabytes of files just sitting with workspaces, and the biggest offender here is, no surprise, one of our raster test workspaces. One file, 1.28 gigabytes. So the author or the admin can come in here. I'll just misclicked there. You can click on the view files, and you can see this Arkansas raster image, and then you have the option to remove that if you know you're referencing a dynamic value in your workspace, or if you only publish this for testing, now you can remove it, reduce your backup file sizes. So those are just a few of the new features that we've added to FME Server 20.1. If you have any questions about them or like to learn more, please chat out in our Q&A panel.
So I will talk briefly about 2 of our mobile applications and how they work by themselves and together. So for those who still don't know what those apps are, so we have FME Data Express, which is an iPhone or Android app for running FME server jobs and workspaces. Of course, you can do that with server apps, but of course, this app allows you to do more things, and not just to run workspaces, but also maybe collect some information in the field. So for example, you can take pictures, you can submit your location, and quite a few more interesting things are coming because of our phones are just, you know, things with lots of sensors, and I really hope that we will show you something really exciting very soon. With FME AR, you can bring your data into real world, basically just augment whatever you see around with the data from your databases, from your storage. Of course, the most interesting thing when you play with these 2 apps together. On the right, you can see my iPhone screen where I have lots of data, FME Data Express links, where I just click them and just work with those workspaces as if they were my apps on my phone. Just a few updates for FME Data Express and FME AR that we added very recently. So now we can stream data whenever it's needed. In the past, you would have to do quite a few clicks. Well, as I said earlier, or maybe Dale said that. So it requires us some time to realize what's the best way of doing things. So now, for example, if you have an image, it will just open up. You just submit your request. No need to click more than necessary. FMER got a few updates, but I also should mention it's only for iOS. You would like to have the Android version as up to date as iOS, and we're working on that, and it takes longer than we expected, unfortunately, but we really hope we will match them at some point in the nearest future. So with AR, we have very nice thing, people occlusion. So now people can cover AR objects that are behind them, well, are supposed to be behind them, and we can also measure distance to the augmented objects. We now can have teleporting, and you can see the link here. You can see how I go to Mars and teleport between different locations there. And we also have an expiration dates for the models. For example, you issue some permit for, I don't know, call before you dig, and you can make the model valid for 1 week only. Or if it's something about wildfires, you probably would like to your model expire much faster. So like in half an hour, this information is not valid anymore. It will be displayed right on the screen, and you probably would like to regenerate the model and load it again. Here you can see a few screenshots of how we use FME AR. So, for example, this building on the right, it's not there yet. It's what we see from our roof. I just wanted to see whether Mount Baker will be obscured with this new building, and it looks like it won't be. That's good. So people occlusion, you can see me waving in front of the pipes behind me. And here, this gallery on the right was created by our customer, Albert Zamiadi, who created this tribute to heroes of COVID-19 pandemic. You can just go through this gallery and see pictures around you. And he made it actually open source public project, and you can download it and play yourself with this data. So, but now I'm going to show how FME Data Express and FME AR work together. So basically, you open your FME AR app, you submit your location and run, and you get back something like this. I will run the video, and I hope it will play nicely on your screens, but you will get the link anyway. So here I go to FME AR app. Blue dot shows where I am. I just confirm this location, or I can choose any location. I specify radius, how far I would like to see from my location in meters or whatever units you have, and submit the request. And so now I don't have to click anything else. It opens right away in FME AR app. So of course, the GPS in our devices is not that good as surveying GPS. So I have to make a simple match here. And after that, I have a, well, pretty accurate representation where everything is under the surface. So I can see all the pipes, and here we can see that the match is pretty close, right? So that's the storm manhole. And now we look back. So that's basically it. That's how it works today, and we make constant improvements. And I go back to my webinar. So we will have a webinar about FME AR and Data Express in September, and we really hope to show you a lot more new and exciting things, because we really hope to add a few very interesting new capabilities coming with AR.
Yeah, so that's fantastic, Dimitri. Really super exciting what's going on in the whole world of AR. Of course, iOS 14, Apple just announced its new AR kit version 4, so we're excited about that. So we expect to see a lot of developments in the whole AR space, and our mobile apps are certainly exciting, and you're going to see them being promoted more as part of the platform as we move towards 2020.2 and FME 2021. So super exciting. So okay, so now we'll talk quickly about just different deployment options for FME. As with each release cycle, we work on the product. We also work to improve our support. You're going to see a new community coming, and as well as new ways to acquire FME. So let me click there. Yeah, so we have some utility programs. So if you're a utility or an education institute, or even a school board, we have new subscription programs for that. Airports, of course, and then we have the previous ones for local government, and all those are based on population. So if it's utility, it's a population of customers. Education, how big is your students, your number of students. Airports, your annual passenger volumes, and local government, what is the based on your population. And the idea there is it's one price, and you get all the FME you can eat based on your population. If you're, and none of those apply, then we also have standard enterprise subscriptions, which enable you to get FME as a subscription rather than perpetual. So that, so the big thing there is that there's no upfront cost. It's just the same price every single year to keep your subscription and get all the updates. The other thing we have is this new dynamic engine support for server. And the idea here is you don't buy engines, you buy engine time. And so this really decouples the notion in server of I need another engine. Now you buy engine time, and you can launch as many engines. So if you have a big job to do, you could decide I'm going to use one engine and let it run for 1,000 hours, or you could buy 1,000 engines, let it run for 1 hour. And so it just completely changes the way that you can think about FME server. And this is really great for huge data grinding, or maybe you have, you have big peaks in your data flow. And so you could have dynamic engines for that peak. And of course, dynamic engines and standard engines work together. We give you options. We do not force people or our customers to choose between old type of pricing to subscriptions, or from standard engines to dynamic engines. We add options, recognizing that there's pluses and minuses for each. So lots there. Now, if you get FME 2020.1 and you're evaluating, you're going to notice that you get 100 hours of free credits to give it a try. Yeah. And so, we also, now you're going to find the whole FME platform on various cloud marketplaces. So if you go to Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure, you're going to find the entire platform on there. So that's desktop and server. Spin up a virtual machine, and you're going to have them both there. Currently, they're BYOL, but as things move forward, you can expect other ways to acquire them on those platforms. And very, very soon, we're very close, having a multi-VM window-based server on Azure. So then you could spin up 5 Azure machines and decide, how many cores do you want, because for fault tolerance, or maybe you just want to spin up additional VMs as you're going to add more engines to your cloud instance. So this is the first time in the cloud we've added this ability to horizontal scale FME server. And so we're excited about that as well. So that's just another thing that's coming. Yeah, and I think with that, Dale, we're near the end here. Hopefully this has showed you how you can use FME to solve new challenges in enterprise integration, and really FME is ready more than ever for the enterprise. So now when you have data challenges, you'll feel like the lizard there, calm, cool, and connected.
Exactly. And I see, Don, that our careful scheduling and rehearsals have paid off, and we're done with 2 minutes to spare.
I tell you, that is amazing. Yeah.
And we had, 5 presenters today? So well done keeping to the time schedule, everybody. So yeah, I guess we got some webinars. We've been kind of talking about them throughout, but there's quite a lot of different things to zoom in on. And when you get these slides afterwards, you'll have the links to all these.
Yeah.
But, lots of great stuff.
And, yeah, and for sure you're going to want to, if you can go, everybody can go to the Esri UC this year and come by and see our virtual booth. Dimitri's been, you can kind of see it sort of blurred there, or maybe it's my eyes, but I'm hoping it's blurred there. And you can come visit our 3D virtual booth. There's Easter eggs as you click around, and so come and see that. And I think there's some surprise. You can win swag too. Is that right?
I don't know. Does Dimitri know?
I think so. Let's say
yes. Yes. I just learned a few minutes ago. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Dimitri just learned that like 3 seconds ago. Yes.
Actually, it is funny, Dimitri. It is the case that our 3D booth has actually been built largely in FME. Is that fair to say?
It is built, yes, in FME, but visualized and animated with 3JS.
Yes,
Okay.
and we did. I mean, the funny thing was we had a 3D model of our booth from last year that we used when we were planning that, and so we were able to dust that off and add some FME magic, and it should be pretty fun.
Dale, it was actually just a PDF, so I had to turn PDF into this.
No way, I didn't actually know that. I thought, well, that's even more impressive. So we're excited about our 3D booth, and I think Dimitri, can you hold like tens of thousands of people in there at the same time?
It's just HTML, right? So
No limit.
yeah.
So yeah, and I guess the team says that you can get FME 2020.1 right now. It's barely cooled off from being uploaded. So
Yeah. Yeah. So give it a go, and yeah, and have fun, and let us know what you like, where you would like us to extend things, and yeah. So there we go.
so I think we'll wrap it up there, and maybe after we say goodbye, we'll just hang around to answer a few questions, and we'll bring in the Q&A people. But if you have to run off, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for all your support over all these years. And we are always very excited to make a new release, and probably each one, Don, would you say is more exciting than the previous?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And some of the things that we're working on now, it's so much fun doing what we're doing with this amazing team and our amazing customers and partners. And it's just a great community that keeps us all, engaged and having fun and inspired. So thank you all for that.
Yeah, very much so. And even though we aren't able to see each other like we might have in Earth Prime, where we didn't have the pandemic, I think that we've still been able to learn from you in this remote way. And I think our team has actually been incredibly focused because we weren't darting all over the world. And so it's very exciting to be able to share all their work that they've done with all of you. Yeah. That's for sure. So anyway, goodbye everybody. But now maybe who are our Q&A people? Is there any themes you want to just chime in as we wrap up? What was going on in Q&A?
Hello. Yes, we've had a lot of questions about server apps and gallery apps, and in particular authentication access. So one of the running trends was if a user has access to the gallery app, but then they don't have access to one of the server apps, will that icon still show in the gallery app? So yes, maybe I'm wrong, but my understanding, is that currently that is static, but if your server app is also set up to require authentication, then that user will just not actually be able to log in and use that. So one of the things I suggested was perhaps you could use color coordination in your app icons, or some kind of different naming so that different users know which apps potentially they have access to if you have different groups of users in the same gallery app.
Mm-hmm. It is a great question, and I made a note about that. That's a great enhancement where we could, have a box to only show users things that they have access to, so then they don't feel somehow deprived, right? Or it just cleans up their things. So I'll make a note of that, and for sure, once the gallery app comes up, we would, we could do that. So that's great.
Yeah, I think that was really the main trending question.
Okay.
Good.
Great.
Well.
Yeah. Oh, I have one here where do we have BYOL on AWS? So currently we do not have FME, the platform, on AWS Marketplace. So we have it on Google and Azure. Of course, FME Cloud is running on AWS, but we do have lots of customers who have installed the FME platform on other cloud platforms, such as AWS, of course, and then they can, of course, just do a BYOL there. So that is an option, but not through the marketplace at this time.
Awesome. Yes, and the question that just came into this webinar was recorded, and everyone will get a copy of the video and the slides along with it, or you can tune in again this afternoon if you have more questions. That is an option, or you can reach us anytime on live chat or on the Knowledge Center in the FME community. So I'll tap the link out to that as well.
I think just one that I would like us to just address, because it is an important one. Somebody asks at the end here, if they upgrade to 2020.1 on desktop, do they need to upgrade their server as well if they want to publish? And the answer is yes. Wouldn't you agree, Don?
Yeah, highly recommended that you keep those two in sync.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
Because
always,
otherwise you're going to use something on FME desktop that's not on this engine on server.
yes.
Yeah.
The other way around is okay. You can upgrade server and leave your desktop behind, and old FME workspaces will keep on running because of our commitment to backward compatibility, but the reverse is not true. So if you do go for 2020.1, we won't stop you from publishing, I don't think, but we probably should.
You get a warning.
Yes.
Yeah, you get a warning and things may not work.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So upgrade early, upgrade often. All right.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much.
See you all at 3 p.m. Pacific.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.